Hello, my beautiful friends. I am Laurel Bleadon-Maffei with Illuminating Souls, welcoming you to this episode of Sleepy Bedtime Blessings, a podcast designed to help you rest, relax, and fall asleep, all while deepening in your connection with your beautiful team of angels who love you so. If we're meeting for the first time, I am an angelic practitioner, a spiritual teacher, and an encourager of souls. And I have the best job ever. I offer one-on-one angel sessions, which are lovely. They take place over the phone. Each session is an hour long, and each session is unique. It involves heartfelt conversation. I might channel the angels for you. And the hope is, if by the end of the session you will feel more connected with your own divine guidance, you'll feel uplifted and inspired. And if you're ever interested in scheduling your own session, you can visit my website, illuminatingsouls.com, and I can typically schedule you in within a week, so I don't have an absurdly long waiting list, so we can get you in pretty quickly. And then I offer soul mentoring, which is an expanded version of an individual angel session. So soul mentoring can go for 12 weeks or longer. I have people who've been working with me for years. And it's a way that you can come into this beautiful sacred energy field each week. We'll have conversation, meditation, guidance, all calibrated specifically for where you are in your life. And it's lovely. I only work with a handful of people in this way. But if that's something that calls to you, please feel free to reach out. And then I offer a variety of classes that my hope is will inspire you. They take place over Zoom. Most of my classes are small in size, so usually never more than 10 people. So you'll definitely get to interact and receive mentoring and support and encouragement, and you'll meet some other wonderful people. And I usually have a new class coming about every 6 weeks or so because I love facilitating groups. So if you go to my website, at the top of my homepage, there's a form you can fill out to join my mailing list. And then if you scroll further down on the homepage, you'll see a second list that you can sign up for. That is for my daily inspiration email blast. And you'll receive an inspiring email from me every weekday. So there's lots of ways that we can connect outside of this broadcast. But for now, the angels and we are here to support you in coming into a place where you can rest and relax, a calming, soothing vibration where you can replenish and where you can connect with the love that is here for you. And don't we all need beautiful sacred spaces where we can receive more divine love? So I invite you to get comfortable. If you're preparing for sleep, I invite you to cozy on up and snuggle on in. And just allow yourself to take a few deep breaths in so that you can bring yourself present to this moment. I don't know about you, but I am finding that right now I am requiring more rest than usual. Just last night I was hanging out with my husband in the living room, I was reading something on my iPad and we were watching television. And it was early. I think it must have been somewhere around 5:30 or 6 o'clock, way too early to go to bed, because then I would be up at midnight. But I couldn't keep my eyes open. So I finally just acquiesced and started napping a little bit on the sofa. But I went deep, and I went into the kind of REM sleep you go into when you are starting your sleep cycle for the night. And I thought, oh, this is not good, because I'm not in bed yet. I'm going to have to wake up and get ready for bed and get into bed. And my whole cycle was disrupted. So I did that. I actually just tried to sort of speed prepare, if you will, for bed. And so I think I finally crawled in bed around 7:30, which is still, it's early even by my standards. And sure enough, by 11:30 last night, I was just out of sorts and I was awake, and I had to get up for a few minutes and recenter and then come back to bed. But it's like my whole sleep cycle is off right now, and I suspect it's energetic. I don't know when you'll be listening to this, but as I record this, it's the early days of August 2023, and we just had a full moon, and there's planets in retrograde, and other things are happening, and I'm very sensitive to these cycles. So I even had a hard time waking up this morning, and again, that's very unusual for me. I usually wake up very easily, pretty early in the morning. So as I record this for you, I'm still feeling that presence of that space we go into when we sleep. You know, that space between our waking consciousness and that deep REM sleep. It's one we might go into as we're falling asleep, and it's one we might experience as we're waking up. So even though I'm wide awake and I've showered and I'm present, I still feel that lovely heaviness of the sleeping consciousness with me. And so I thought I would share about that, because perhaps, since this is a sleep podcast, I can share the energy of this sleeping consciousness with you. It's a place where we don't have to have all the answers. It's a place where we don't have to figure anything out. It's almost like it's a place where we marinate, and the molecules of consciousness get to be rearranged. You know, I love these experiences where I might go to sleep not knowing the answer to something, and by the time I wake up, somehow it's been sorted out in my consciousness, and things have been rearranged, and I feel differently than I did the night before. And I think I've probably shared this with you before, but one of the tools they taught us at the University of Santa Monica is setting bedtime intentions. One of their teachings is that space before we drift off to sleep is a powerful time to set our intentions and our prayers to clear or heal or connect with the divine while we're in the astral realm. So if there's something that you're mulling over, if there's something you're having a challenge clearing, the way it works, it's very simple. Before you go to sleep, you say, in whatever sort of prayer or salutation you wish to use, "Dear God and angels, I ask that while I sleep, you help clear from me," and then you fill in the blank. You help clear from me the sense of worry I'm feeling. Or I ask that you help me experience more divine love. Or I ask that you help connect me with more inspiration so I wake up in the morning feeling inspired. one of the ways I often will use this, and I always forget to do this just so you know, even though I have these tools, just like you, I forget to use them. So this is a good reminder for me as well. But I will ask them, please download to me what my next class should be. Because as I said earlier, I offer a new class about every 6 weeks or so, and I like to keep it fresh. I don't offer the same class every time because I have a lovely group of people who continue on with my classes. So I like to offer them something new or something fresh, and not that's intellectually manufactured by me. I like to tune in with the angels to see where should we go next. And so I'll ask them to download it to me as I sleep. And it doesn't happen every single time, but it's not uncommon for the next morning or 2 mornings after I've set the intention to be in the shower, because I get a lot of my downloads in the shower. I don't know why, it's just how it works for me. And a stream of consciousness will come through me. And it'll sound something like, you know what I should do? I should offer a class in this. Or I should do that. And it's almost like the whole thing will download to me. And what I've learned is it's time to go run and get pen and paper and write it all down. Because more often than not, I have a really beautiful outline for a new curriculum. So bedtime intentions are lovely. And since you are getting ready, perhaps to go to sleep, although I do know some of you listen during your waking hours, which is, of course, a lovely thing to do as well. But if you are preparing for bed, I invite you to set an intention, a bedtime intention. How can the angels support you as you're sleeping? Is there something you'd like to clear or heal? Is there a wave of inspiration they can help you with? How can they support you? And so I'm going to invite the angels in to be with us. They're already here, but I love sharing this ritual with you. So I invite you to join me in taking a nice deep breath in and out as we gently call ourselves forward into the heart of God. And beautiful angels on high, I am so grateful for this moment. I am so grateful for this beautiful sanctuary that you have co-created for us. I ask that you make your presence known, that you join us here with waves of love, waves of healing, and waves of inspiration for each of our beloveds who is hearing this message. And beautiful angels, I ask that you bring a blessing to each of our beloveds, a blessing that will be profoundly meaningful to each of them. I ask that you help to lift their worries and fears, and assist each one of them in having a deeper understanding of the true beauty of their spirit. So dear ones, just take some nice deep breaths in, allowing divine love to flow to you. This divine love is always here for you. It's just that it's easy for us to forget. So in this moment, the angels are helping to amplify this broadcast of divine love so that you can receive it, so that you can immerse yourself in it. And one of the things I find helpful is I imagine that the room that I am in is filled with a soft pink light that represents the divine angelic love. So I invite you to do the same. Just imagine that this divine love, this light, it is filling the space you're in. It is broadcasting to everything and everyone you love. That the angels know your heart, they know your prayers, they know all that is transpiring within and around you. And so the love you are receiving has been calibrated just for you. So breathe it in, allowing it to be so. And the angels want you to know that they have heard your prayers and they are with you. You are so very precious in this world. This world is better because you are here. There's a very sweet and simple message I once wrote down to put on one of my posters for Facebook. And it says, "You are the answer to someone's prayer." And I just think that is so beautiful, that each of us has the capacity to be the answer to someone's prayer. Isn't that the most holy and beautiful thing? And it doesn't have to be this big, grand experience. Like every day, we have these opportunities. Even in the simplest way, if you're driving on the freeway and you can let someone merge into your lane of traffic, you might wonder, how could that be the answer to someone's prayer? Well, maybe that person's been having a really bad day. And they just said, "Please, God, give me some grace as I drive home." And there you are. You motion them over. Come into my lane. It's fine. I have plenty of time. Right? Or that moment when there's two of you with full grocery carts going for the same checkout lane. And rather than going a little faster, you motion the person to get in front of you. And you say, "It's okay, I've got all the time in the world." That could be the answer to that person's prayer. Maybe they just needed someone to give them a break. God, please let someone give me a break today. So every day we can show up in kindness and generosity and love. And it's an opportunity to amplify this beautiful divine presence. Maybe in the tiniest and simplest of ways we can help be the answer to someone's prayer. And since we're in the world of reciprocity, that our prayers will get answered as well. So, my sweet friend, I invite you to snuggle on in and allow the angels to be with you and watch over you as you rest. And while you rest, and while the angels receive your prayers, we're going to mosey on into story time. I've got some good stuff for you in this episode. So for this story time, I thought we could talk about Beverly Hills. That sounds like a cool idea, doesn't it? And I'll tell you where I got the inspiration for this. Just yesterday, I was moseying, I don't know, I can't use mosey twice in one broadcast, can I? I was exploring the different databases that were available within the Los Angeles library system. I have a Los Angeles library card, even though I live in Northern California. One thing you may not know is, I know this is true in the state of California, that there's a reciprocal arrangement between the different library systems in California. So if you're visiting a different area, you can go and apply for a library card. And then you have access to it, and so much of what libraries offer now is electronic. that you get a lot of benefits from that. So I do, fortunately, have a Los Angeles library card. And one of the databases they have is historical Los Angeles newspapers. And I know Beverly Hills is relatively new, meaning if you were looking into the history of London or Paris or Cairo, you would be looking at history that spans centuries. But so much of Los Angeles is relatively new, and Beverly Hills was developed in 1906. So conceivably, when I moved there in 1985, there were still people alive who remembered the early days of Beverly Hills. So from my perspective, that always put the history very much within reach. For instance, just as an aside, I remember going to get my nails done when I lived in LA, and this lovely older woman was sitting next to me, and we started talking. And she was a little girl during the big San Francisco earthquake that I think was in 1906. I'm not going to go look it up, so if I'm off by a few years, forgive me. And I thought that was so cool that I was sitting next to someone who had lived through such a profound moment in history. So I've pulled up some really cool articles about the way Beverly Hills was developed, and I thought I would share them with you. And I am going to say a little prayer that I am going to be able to read this to you gracefully because the print is really, really small. I'm not doing this on my iPad because I couldn't figure out how to move it over there as easily as just printing it out. And also, the way it was scanned in, the first few letters of each word is cut off. So I'm going to be trying to discern what they meant. So I think this is from 1906. I didn't write down the exact day. But it says, formal announcement is made by Percy H. Clark Company, managers of contract of the opening tomorrow of Beverly Hills, a beautiful suburban residence section between this city and Santa Monica. It was only a year ago that this property was known as the Hamel and Denker Ranch, one of the most, I don't know, it might say idle or something, of Southern California. Only, again, can't see the number, a few months ago, the last crop of lima beans that will ever be raised here was harvested and the ground cleared by the graders. This property was purchased about a year ago by a syndicate composed of H.E. Huntington, I wonder if that's Henry Huntington, someone by the name of Canfield, Kirchhoff, a name I can't see, and others. It lies at the old, might be Morocco Junction of the Los Angeles Pacific Road, where the Hollywood and Grove branches connect with it. Again, this is where I can't see the first few letters of each word, so I'm just making it up as I go, that part, but I think I'm getting most of it right. The property was laid out by famous landscape architect, and the work of development has been carried forward by skilled engineers to a point where an intelligent conception can be given prospective buyers of what the complete plan is. The property is water-bearing, and a large reservoir will be constructed in the hills, giving an ample supply to all of the tract. A gas plant will be erected and a complete sewage system installed. Roads will be tamped, construction, cement, and sidewalks of the finest quality are now going in. So, that's the first article I could find about Beverly Hills. I suppose if I were really going to research, I can go and look up more about the Hamel and Denker Ranch, but I didn't do that yesterday, so we're going to keep going from here. The next article I found was published in the Los Angeles Times on October 21st, 1906. It's a full-page ad. It says Beverly Hills between the city and the sea. And it shows mountains and a road. It says Beverly Hills is at the old Rancho Rodeo de Los Angeles between Los Angeles and Santa Monica, and I apologize for messing up the pronunciation of that name. The fertile ranch is being transformed into a beautiful parked property after the plans of a famous landscape architect. Picturesque parks are being laid out, sweeping drives and boulevards wind up through it into the canyons and the foothills. Wilshire Boulevard cuts it on the southwest. Sunset Boulevard borders the north. The opportunity has arrived for which hundreds of Los Angeles residents have been waiting to secure home sites in this beautifully located, easily accessible property. And the formal opening is tomorrow. After months of preparation, we are able to announce the formal opening of Beverly Hills. The work of development has now advanced so far that we can show you our plans, give you an intelligent idea of what the completed Beverly will be. So such a project has never been brought into being in Southern California. Nor is there another opportunity for people who wish to live away from the city to secure a site so advantageously located in a section that will have every improvement that the finest residence section of Los Angeles can offer. We invite you to visit Beverly Hills tomorrow or any day this week. You can get information at our city offices or at our headquarters at Beverly. So apparently, they were also calling it Beverly, not just Beverly Hills. Those who have been waiting for this announcement will appreciate its significance. So something to note is Los Angeles was really downtown Los Angeles at that time. Hollywood was getting built up during that era, and Santa Monica was pretty much a resort town. It's where you would go to the ocean. So there was still a lot of agriculture in this part of Los Angeles and also in the valley. So that this whole big area was being developed was a big deal. Regarding transportation, again, so this is cut off a little bit, so I might be making stuff up. I believe it says 4 car lines. That is the transportation situation in a nutshell. Los Angeles Pacific lines furnish it, Santa Monica car line by way of Sawtelle, the Brentwood Park car, the Hollywood, I don't know if it says Through Care, and the Colgrove something. Within 6 months, the new Sunset Boulevard Scenic Road will be bringing people to Beverly Hills. Run out in your automobile by Pico or West 4th Street. Wilshire Boulevard will something be completed to Beverly Hills, which immediately something the new country club grounds, which joins. There you go. Let's say that. Wilshire Boulevard will be completed to Beverly Hills, which immediately adjoins the new country club grounds. And one of the things that I remember when I would read up on old Beverly Hills is Sunset Boulevard, which of course now is very busy going through Beverly Hills. People used to ride their horses. It wasn't paved in the beginning, so I think that's interesting. So character of the improvements, and I can see all the words here, so this is going to be more graceful. That improvements at Beverly Hills will be equal or superior to improvements in the best residence sections of Los Angeles is absolutely assured. The property is water-bearing. A large reservoir will be constructed at great expense in the foothills, giving plenty of pure water under heavy pressure to all parts of Beverly Hills. The streets and boulevards range from 60 to 110 feet in widths. Roadbeds are of the new oiled, tamped construction, practically asphaltum and entirely dustless. Wide cement sidewalks and curbs, telephones, electric lights. A gas plant will be erected to supply Beverly residents. So again, they're not saying Beverly Hills, they're saying Beverly. And a complete modern sewage system will be installed, assuring perfect sanitation, an improvement unknown in even some of the finest residence sections of Los Angeles. In fact, nothing has been overlooked that will make for comfortable living here. Trees and shrubs have been planted, parks laid out. The very sloping nature of the property with the swelling foothills and picturesque canyons lend themselves to the art of the landscape architect. No expense has been spared. The work will be carried out to completion on the elaborate scale planned. There is a single idea behind it all to make Beverly Hills a place where people accustomed to all conveniences and refinements of city life can have them all, and at the same time the healthful features and delights of the country. So prices, terms, etc. There are no small lots at Beverly Hills. There will be no crowding. There will be no undesirable buildings of any kind. Restrictions cover these points and will be strictly enforced. The business section will be in Beverly proper, removed from the residence portion, yet readily accessible. The property is large enough to give you a choice of level or foothill lots, but all residence sites are high, affording a sweeping view. Prices range from $900 and up. Terms will be found satisfactory. Reservations should be made this week. While Beverly Hills is a large proposition, the demand for its property is already keen. We've been obliged to show it. Many have already selected sites on which to erect beautiful homes. We wish to impress upon you this point. This week you will have the widest choice you will ever have. To avoid disappointment, then, see Beverly Hills this week. Get a clear idea of what it is and what it will be, of the character of people who are interested there, then make your selections. We can only judge the demand from the past 2 weeks. Taking them into consideration, we ask you to come this week for your own protection. Whether you want to live here or would consider the property only from an investment point of view, the opportunity is here now. Grasp it. The Rodeo Land and Water Company owners. It says directors Henry E. Huntington, so it was him. And if you don't know that name, he founded the Huntington Library and Gardens in San Marino. He was a railroad magnate, as I recall. C.A. Canfield, W.G. Kirchhoff, W.S. Porter, Burton M. Green, and M.W. Whittier. Okay, the next ad is on November 3rd, 1906. And it's a smaller ad. It says, Beverly Hills, watch the Sunday Times for the facts. Tomorrow's Times tell the facts. Los Angeles has this unique characteristic. There are a dozen localities where certain limited sections are properly improved and restricted. But alone among the great cities of the nation, Los Angeles has never had a distinct locality whose entire surroundings made the one desirable improved residence section. Beverly Hills is destined to fulfill this mission. $200,000 worth of property already sold. But wait, see Sunday Times for most interesting, remarkable real estate announcement ever published in Los Angeles. So that's November 3rd. Unfortunately, I could not find November 4th when I was looking. I'm sure I could find it. I just didn't put that much effort into it. Not that you're not worth the effort, but as I have been sharing with you, I have been experiencing some fatigue, so I was like, yeah, we'll just move on. But I do have November 11th, which I think probably will still give us some insight. So this is from the Los Angeles Times, November 11th, 1906. It says Beverly Hills commands Wilshire Boulevard District and Hollywood better improvements, better facilities, better location. Buy where there's activity. Sales not only double what was expected, but many resales at large profits. So again, we have our list of the men who are supporting this. Henry E. Huntington, J.D. Bicknell, J.A. Chancellor, and there's more, including Burton E. Green, which if you know about Burton Way in Beverly Hills, the above gentlemen comprise the directors and stockholders behind Beverly Hills. Read the names carefully. If you doubted our opening announcement that Beverly Hills was not organized solely for profit, you've already seen sufficient proofs to convince you that our statement was accurate. Beverly Hills is not a real estate speculation, nor an attempt to sell land at a big profit. That's a point you should note. Read it again. Before another month has passed, you may be wondering why you didn't reserve a site for your home before other people had selected all the better locations. Read that again. Well, this is a very forceful and a directive piece of advertising. It's talking all about FOMO. You don't want to miss out on this. Beverly Hills isn't a section of an endless plain. It isn't a part of anything else. It's simply and solely a superb district all by itself. If there had been a better location in all California, the gentleman behind Beverly Hills would have purchased it. We say, and note this also, that Beverly Hills is the perfect residential spot in the state, selected for that reason, and wealth has been showered on it as never before in any community. It's interesting because it certainly lived up to its hype all of these years later. Prices at Beverly Hills have been purposefully made very moderate. The intention is not to make money so much as to encourage the quick improvement of the property, and by improvement we mean the erection of fine homes. Never, never for an instant did we anticipate quite the demand. However, this has sprung up. Los Angeles needed such a suburb, an elevated district with wonderful view and natural charms, backed by sufficient capital to carry out elaborate improvements. Consider the miles of street work. At $20,000 per mile, the gardens and parks, the sewer system, high-pressure water system, electric system, the parkways to be planted with choice shrubbery and trees, the beautiful winding drives, the broad streets, the magnificent estates to be located there, and consider the car service with 4 lines and a scenic line to be built. A 10th part of the facts have not yet been told. The important thing is Beverly Hills is going to be brought to the final completion, going to be peopled with the best families of Los Angeles, and it requires millions to accomplish it. All right, there's some smaller sections here in tiny type, but I am going to try to bring these to you. The week's experience proves 2 statements that were made by the company. First, that Beverly Hills would be an instant success, and second, the prices were purposefully made so low that purchasers were practically guaranteed an immediate profit if they desired to sell. And then here's another section. Mr. G.A. Canfield decides to build at Beverly Hills a $25,000 home. Work to commence the 1st of December. Many other private estates being rapidly designed. The property has been already purchased. Beverly Hills, even without another sale, has justified the expectation of its originators. $18,000 block, located in the section devoted to business, is being rushed to completion. If you ever had doubts of the success of Beverly Hills, a visit to the beautiful subdivision will astonish you. Historic twin palms purchased for Beverly Hills. These grand old palms at a cost of $400 will be moved from their position at Arcade Depot to Beverly Hills as a feature of one of the parks. This illustrates how lavishly money will be spent to make Beverly Hills one of the real showplaces of the world. And I was reading in another article that one of the historic palms had died. And if you do ever drive through Beverly Hills and you have seen the iconic shot of the palm-lined drive, I think that's what they're talking about. So facts in brief. Beverly Hills has streets from 60 to 110 feet broad, oil-tamped roads, wide sidewalks, and parkways. Okay, we've read this part already. Lots range from 80 to 175 feet up to 2, 8, and 5 acres. All of the good points that can be said of Wilshire Boulevard, all of the real attractions of Hollywood are combined in Beverly Hills, with other advantages possessed alone by Beverly Hills. Call at office for other information of a more confidential nature that will absolutely convince every reader of the Times that Beverly Hills is the surest and best opportunity Los Angeles home builders or investors have ever had. So then, I think the big announcement they were alluding to was the construction of the Beverly Hills Hotel, a very iconic hotel. So it says millions behind it, millions before it, $170,000 hotel, which was a tremendous amount of money then, is the latest improvement for Beverly Hills. Do you realize that Beverly Hills occupies the choicest location in the best residence section near Los Angeles? So they're going to start the construction of the Beverly Hills Hotel. So then there's another ad that I found from December 25th. So this is all within 3 months of each other. So it says $170,000 hotel is coming to Beverly Hills. Los Angeles is growing by leaps and bounds. Nothing can stem the tide of exceptional prosperity. As fortunes are made, their processors turn from the unsatisfying sections and seek home sites at Beverly Hills. You do not fancy the commingling of business streets with residences, quote, avenues that are narrow, straight, and unsightly. How to get away from the atmosphere of business, how to escape ugliness and unsightliness, where find a beauty spot that answers and gratifies these requirements. Beverly Hills, elevated, commanding, overlooking Hollywood and the Wilshire Boulevard district, with every convenience, every modern improvement. A place of beauty and individuality appealing to the eye, as artistically conceived and generously planned. Yes, Beverly Hills leaves nothing to be desired. Sounds good. Sign me up. Okay, I still have more, but wait, there's more. Okay, this one is super teeny tiny type. That is also a bit cut off. I will do my best, and I don't have a date for this. But it says Percy H. Clark Company, managers of the Beverly Hills tract, report that the roads to their tract are now in fine shape. The best way to go is by automobile or carriage, being via West Pico or along Sunset Boulevard. The improvement work, which had been somewhat hampered up to quite recently, owing to the unfavorable weather conditions. See, even if you're really wealthy and you're building Beverly Hills, weather will be weather, is begun with renewed vim again. With a large force of men, the expenditures, as reported in improvements to date of this high-class foothill property, has been about $250,000. And a large hotel was open to the public. Oh, this is something completely different. Okay, so the Beverly Hills Hotel is not open yet. I just went into another article by mistake. And the next article, again, I don't know when it was published, but somewhere in this general vicinity, it's talking about who's purchasing lots and how much they were purchased for. So V.C. Lukens has bought a lot on the west side for $1,400. Another lot was sold for $1,300, $1,200, $1,500. So it's just talking about how much people are paying for their lots and how much they're spending to build their lot. So someone is spending $7,000 on their home to be built. Okay, and now we get to the Beverly Hills Hotel. We're now in 1911, so we've skipped ahead a bunch of years. And now it's the $300,000 Beverly Hills Hotel, construction upon which began simultaneously with the letting of the contract. The structure, which was planned by Elmer Gray, will be one of the finest examples of mission architecture in the Southwest. So it says work starts with rush on monster hostelry. Papers were signed yesterday afternoon between the Rodeo Land and Water Company and the Alta Planning Mill Company, in the terms of which the latter was formally awarded the contract for the construction of the magnificent tourist hotel planned by Elmer Gray for Beverly Hills. The enterprise was launched in whirlwind style, over 200 men going to work at once upon the excavation for the foundations for the monster hostelry. I'm sorry, that word is just unfamiliar to me. The preliminary announcements concerning which appeared exclusively in the Times several weeks ago. 25 minutes from the heart of Los Angeles and 20 minutes from the beach, the hotel will occupy the crest of a slightly knoll commanding a panorama including both. Well, that's very ambitious traffic-wise because millions of people had not moved there yet. The building will be of the beautiful California mission type and will cover an enormous ground area. Of the shape of a capital T, the structure will consist of a central portion and two wings. So it talks a little bit more about that. It will maintain a home-like atmosphere. It will be set far back from Sunset Boulevard and will be approached by winding walks and drives. It is a beautiful hotel. I've never stayed there, but that's also where the Palm restaurant is. That's very famous. So then just a few days later, September 23rd, 1911, there's another article saying progress at Beverly Hills. Los Angeles' finest suburb making wonderful strides. This is a little hard to read, but let me see if I can pick out a few things to share with you. The prices of lots, considering unusual size and location, are easily 50% lower than similarly improved property in any other desirable section. So the lots are $1,250 to $2,000. Acreage villa sites are obtainable at relatively low prices. So they're still selling lots there. I'm sure even though they're low prices, I likely wouldn't have been able to afford that back in the day. But also you needed to then build upon the lot, which was more. And there were a lot of articles that I didn't print out because they were hard to read, that were talking about the different estates that were being built there. So amazing information is available. And then just to sort of put it all in perspective, I found a very interesting article with teeny tiny type that even when I tried to blow it up on my computer was hard to read. But I think it's worth it to actually share a little bit about this with you. This was published September 24th, 1911 in the LA Times, and it talks about how affordable Los Angeles is to live in compared to other cities. So it's talking about how vast LA is and how much can be developed. and that LA will never be overcrowded or outpriced, which of course it is now. It's so expensive to live there. But as we're talking about how much lots cost and how much it is to build things, they do have a little table here. So statistics, cost of rent and food. So in the day, this would be back in 1911, in New York, your rent might be $100 and food would cost $100. I'm assuming that's per month. But Los Angeles was $78 for rent and $90 for food. So Los Angeles was one of the less expensive big cities to live in. And remember, back then, the difference between $100 and $90 was significant. You know, nowadays that's just pocket change to us, but back then it could be a whole month's salary. And one of the other things it talks about is that it's easier to become a homeowner versus a renter in Los Angeles, which of course is not the truth now, but it was back then. There's just more space to build back then. So it was easier to become a homeowner. And then plus you had the great climate. So I'm not going to try to get my eyesight to read this article to you, but it was fascinating to read the perspective of what it meant to be moving to Los Angeles and the opportunities that would be available to someone back then. You know, this was around the time that Griffith Park was being developed, that agriculture was being replaced by urban development. So the development of Beverly Hills, again, is so interesting to me because 1906 to 1911, I moved there in 1985. So there would still have been people alive who might have remembered the early days of Beverly Hills. By the time I moved there, it was certainly already developed. It already had its personality. It already had its myth, its allure, if you will. And it would be a few years after I moved there that the show Beverly Hills 90210 would become a massive hit, and we would all know the zip code, to at least one of the zip codes. There's more than one, 90210 for Beverly Hills. And for many years, I lived in Beverly Hills adjacent. That's what they would call the neighborhood. If you were looking up classifieds for rentals, it would say Beverly Hills adjacent. So my street was Los Angeles, and if I went up a block, it was Beverly Hills. So I was Beverly Hills adjacent. And it wasn't like it was a big deal to go to Beverly Hills. It just was a place that you would go to do your shopping or go have a meal or something. But their school system is terrific. But certainly, you know, there's different neighborhoods where you could own houses that are very costly and beautiful, and especially as you get into the foothills, just exquisite. And so I find it fascinating to be able to read about history that could conceivably be happening within a recent lifetime. I don't know why, I'm just fascinated by that. It's like when I go back and read the old TV guides, right? It's an interesting thing of a long, well-lived life that we get to see how things are evolving, right? That many of you who listen to this podcast, you likely remember the world before the internet. Maybe you remember watching television before we had VCRs. There's so many things that we get to witness changing in our lifetime. So being able to read this about Beverly Hills, I think, is fascinating. Because by the time I moved there, it already was Beverly Hills. It had already been developed. It already had its cachet. The vision was born. The houses were magnificent. And so I'm glad I got to share this with you. It'll be interesting to see where life goes in the next few decades, right? It's like we're always evolving. We're not a static society. And so, where once lima beans and barley were grown, Beverly Hills now exists. Where once there were orange groves, Los Angeles exists. So fascinating stuff, and maybe a little boring, so perhaps you have already drifted off to sleep. And if not, perhaps I have kept you mildly amused as I get to keep you company. So there we go, a little history of Beverly Hills. So, my beautiful friend, thank you for spending this time with me and allowing me the blessing of spending this time with you. I'm so deeply grateful for you. And I look forward to connecting again soon. So I wish you the sweetest of dreams. I love you, and thank you so much for listening.